I'm parking there.
You're a bit slow then, aren't you, mate?
What is he slow?
For a detective inspector,
Aye!
his manner is unconventional.
This is your fault.
His emotions are raw.
He has stolen 20 years of your life.
His name is Rebus. Friday at 9, ITV1.
I'm Jamie. Hello? These are my parents.
Right, that has really done it now.
Now, who's going to be there for Jenny?
And these people look after me.
You can't stay on your own here.
Jamie,
Go away.
if you open the door, I'll show you my boobies.
The Complete Guide to Parenting, next Monday at 10, ITV1.
The Psychics and Skeptics investigate tales of a mysterious man haunted homes on ITV1 after tonight's news with Mark Austin.
Holiday terror. A gunman opens fire on British tourists in Jordan. They just wanted to see the sights. Tonight, one is dead and several others are injured. Once again, Britons are targeted by terrorists abroad. The gunman apparently shouted, "God is great," before opening fire. We'll have the latest live from the Jordanian capital. Also tonight, the cost of war. 3 more British soldiers die as one father speaks of a lost son.
He's been flying with the birds, and now he's flying with the angels.
Romania's hidden scandal, an exclusive report on the orphans left to go mad in appalling conditions. And tribute to the crocodile hunter Steve Irwin, killed in a freak accident in Australia.
In Anglia News, a new low in animal cruelty. How this lamb was trapped by a gang, doused in petrol and set on fire. Good evening. In different countries, in different conflicts, the same story today. More British lives lost. 4 in all, not just military, a civilian too this time. Britain's role in the war on terrorism, a possible factor. The civilian was a tourist, a 30-year-old man visiting the Roman amphitheatre in the capital of Jordan, Amman. The historic ruins echoed to the sound of at least 12 shots. 2 other Britons were hit by the gunman's bullets. In a moment, details of the military deaths in Afghanistan and in Iraq. First, though, to Tim Rogers in Amman, latest on the attack on the tourists. Tim.
Well, tonight the gunman is in custody and his interrogation continues. His motivation, though, still isn't clear, although his actions most definitely were. Allah Akbar, God is great, he said, as he aimed his gun at the tourists and shot them down.
It was an attack that Jordan has been dreading, the worst and the bloodiest for months. The evidence still visible on the steps of the Roman amphitheatre, one of the most popular tourist attractions in the country. So concerned is the government that the Interior Minister visited the surviving members of the group in hospital, among them Australian Ashley Blair, who explained what happened.
A man came up behind us and started to shoot. And is one of my friends falling over, and then a really nice man from a shop came and told us to hide in his store, and we could just hear him shooting.
Tonight, the hospital director told me that the British man who was killed didn't stand a chance.
Within minutes after he arrived here, within 2 minutes before I came to the emergency room, because they informed me, and I came here, he was died.
He said that the 2 British women who were shot are in a stable condition. One was shot in the chest, the other in the kidney, but both have responded well to surgery. It was just after 12:30 local time when the group of tourists were visiting the Roman amphitheatre, one of Amman's most popular attractions. The gunman shouted, "God is great," in Arabic, before firing at least 12 shots into the group. When his ammunition ran out, he tried to escape, but he was overpowered by a policeman and a group of locals. Last November, Al-Qaeda launched suicide bombings against 3 hotels in Amman. Their targets were foreigners, but the majority of the 60 people who died were Jordanians, many of them attending a wedding. After this attack, the official Jordanian response has been to suggest that this was a rogue gunman acting alone. But behind the scenes, their obvious concern is being addressed. Was this a planned assault?
So, Tim, is the Jordanian government still maintaining this was a gunman acting alone tonight?
Yes, they are. I've just spoken to the official government spokesman in the last few minutes. He's insisting that this was the action of a lone gunman who had no connection that they're aware of with any political group. But one must bear in mind, of course, the potential damage that incidents of this can cause to the Jordanian economy, particularly to the tourist industry here, which is vital. Despite the war in Lebanon, they've had a good season here. They're extremely worried about the impact of incidents like this. Just 6 months ago, of course, the major hotels in Amman were targeted and 60 people were killed. The Jordanian message is, though, tonight that they have got matters under control and they don't believe that this is an attack which could be linked to Al-Qaeda or other political organisations.
All right, Tim Rogers, thank you very much indeed. So, one dead British tourist and 3 British soldiers also died today in the so-called war on terrorism. 2 were killed in Iraq. Their armoured Land Rover was hit by a roadside bomb just north of Basra in the south of the country. 2 others were injured. One is in a serious condition. Tonight, the Foreign Secretary, Margaret Beckett, arrived in Baghdad, her first visit since taking the job in May. On that other front, Afghanistan, British troops were also under attack again. One was killed in the suicide bombing of a convoy near Kabul. Our international editor Bill Neely was on the scene soon after the attack and is in Kabul tonight.
Grim day here in Afghanistan. 16 British servicemen killed here in the last 4 days, 22 in the last month. This war is gathering pace and gathering casualties. 1 more British soldier killed here in this city today.
Minutes after the suicide bombing, vehicles still on fire, the bodies of civilians scattered on the road. 1 British soldier dead and 4 Afghans. The troops were in a vehicle convoy when a suicide bomber rammed his car into them. 3 other soldiers were hit by shrapnel. 1, again British, was very seriously injured. The soldier's death means 22 British troops have now died in Afghanistan in a month. This war is becoming more deadly and more widespread. Not long ago, this city, Kabul, was regarded as safe. British troops could patrol here without fear and suicide attacks were non-existent. Not anymore. The suicide bombing here just a few hours ago and the death of a British soldier are further proof that the militants are extending their reach and intensifying their campaign. The bodies of the Afghan dead were taken for burial. The name of the dead soldier has not yet been released. A British government minister visiting Kabul told me, "We are winning a fierce war."
It's been a terrible couple of days, and our thoughts obviously are with the families of those who've died. And I think what we've got to keep telling people is why we're here and why they died for a very good cause. And I don't think we do that enough, quite frankly.
Soldiers are still dying in southern Afghanistan too, in NATO's biggest battle so far with the Taliban. It was this battle that the RAF Nimrod spy plane and its 14 crew were supporting when their aircraft crashed. Almost certainly, say military officials, an accident. The 27-year-old Nimrod was too high to be shot down, cruising at 25,000 feet. The Ministry of Defence has now confirmed that the plane had just been refueled in mid-air. Soon after, a mayday was sent out by the pilot, reporting a technical failure connected with fire. The pilot took the plane down, but the fire would almost certainly have damaged flight control cables. The plane lost its battle to land just 12 miles from Kandahar. Tonight, British troops are back on city streets and fighting in the rural south. 32 British dead in 6 months in Afghanistan. Yet another grieving family tonight, and a rising death toll the government is struggling to explain. Bill Neely, ITV News, Kabul.
And for the 14 families of these servicemen who died in that Nimrod crash on Saturday, the struggle against grief was poignantly illustrated today. The father of one, Sergeant Ben Knight, paid a moving tribute to his son, describing him as a beautiful boy.
He always wanted to be in the RAF, I didn't. I ain't fine. I didn't want him to be on planes, but it's what he wanted to do. but he's been flying with the birds, and now he's flying with the angels, and God's with him now.
The father of Sergeant Ben Knight. Well, earlier I spoke to the head of the RAF, Air Chief Marshal Sir Glenn Torpey, and I began by asking him whether he can now say with certainty that the Nimrod crash was an accident.
Well, Mark, first of all, good evening. And can I open really by saying this is clearly a tragic loss of life. And our first priority is very much to support the families who've been affected by this desperately sad incident. The Nimrod has been a very successful aircraft. It was introduced into service in the late 60s and has been gradually upgraded over the years, and conducting a surveillance mission over Afghanistan, and all the circumstances that we currently have would indicate that it is very much a technical malfunction.
But we're in quite a fight in Afghanistan. Has the scale of that fight, the strength of the opposition, surprised you?
The south was an area which nobody had detailed knowledge of. There were very few forces down there before we arrived, with our Canadian colleagues and the Dutch colleagues as well. And as we've got more people on the ground, clearly we've gained a greater knowledge of what's going on, and that's what really prompted us to deploy extra forces which were asked for by the commander on the ground.
So we were caught unawares, were we?
No, that is the nature of military operations. As you build up the intelligence picture, you modify both the way you operate and possibly the forces you need to take account of what is actually happening.
When do you anticipate we can get out of Afghanistan?
One of our jobs on the military front is to provide a secure environment and clearly to train the Afghan security forces so that they progressively can take on the task of providing a secure environment. So I think we will see progressively over the coming years them being able to take on increasing responsibility.
And that was Air Chief Marshal Sir Glenn Torpey speaking to me earlier this evening. Right, coming up later in the programme, the rapist who kept his victim's shoes tracked down after 20 years by his sister's DNA. But first, they are medieval scenes in a country only 4 months from joining the European Union of the 21st century. Orphaned, unwanted children, some tied up, others rocking endlessly back and forth. Yet, despite the promises to stop such cruelty, this is still how some Romanian orphans are treated, or rather mistreated. Working undercover and claiming to be charity workers, our reporter Chris Rogers and cameraman Tony Hemmings exposed the terrible conditions that were supposed to be confined to history. This then, the first of their exclusive investigations on the Romanian children abandoned without hope. It contains upsetting images.
Dumped in a Romanian hospital. She is one of thousands abandoned each year. The lucky ones are saved, fostered. Many are condemned to virtual imprisonment, driven mad in appalling conditions, confined to miserable institutions until they die. We are armed with fake aid worker ID, but there are too few nurses on these eerily quiet wards to notice us. They are understaffed, under-resourced, yet teeming with Romania's abandoned. Some are starving. Left somehow to feed themselves. They are simply unwanted, but others are dumped because of birth defects. Ionet has been here 7 years and treated for cerebral palsy. Life-saving expertise to treat liquid on the brain doesn't exist here.
Yeah.
As a condition of Romania's forthcoming EU membership, orphanages for young children were closed and replaced with a local fostering programme. But children's charities claim the system is overwhelmed. And according to one nurse, many hospitals have instead become orphanages, with horrific consequences.
I think the hospital is like a zoo. They live like animals all day in their cots, and that makes the children become physically and mentally damaged.
An aid worker showed us children crippled from lying on their backs for months on end.
She can't sit up.
These loveless wards also create mental scars. The rocking motion is a common side effect. I was witnessing the creation of mentally and physically disabled children, destined for the country's most horrific homes. This is an institute for disabled children, typical of several we saw. But here, a nurse let us film. She's tired of hiding her country's failure. Some had been born mentally ill, but many had arrived in need of little more than love and attention. We are surrounded by victims of institutionalisation here, and this is the treatment they receive. You're looking right at it. They sit on the benches all day or just lie here on the rug, some of them with their hands tied behind their backs to protect themselves, but also the other children. The nurse is overwhelmed. She keeps the room clean, but she has little else to offer these children. She didn't want us to film them tied up, but they clearly didn't know what to do with their freedom. We're told to stop filming and hand over the tape. Okay, we'll stop filming. The nurse's reaction is not surprising. Romania insists its notorious institutes have been dealt with. Some, like this one, have been shut down. But where were the children here sent to? The younger orphans are in newly built centres. Aid workers call them show homes, where fundraisers and celebrities are given tours. We got a job in one, and our secret filming revealed disturbing practices. 14-year-old David is tied to his bed to stop him rocking and creating more damage to the wall. We're told Simona is blind and tied up for her own safety. Marion's head has been sellotaped to break her falls. All of the children's feet here are twisted from lack of exercise. Romania promised to tackle its child welfare problems. So why do abandoned babies still face a life of neglect and cruelty? ITV News, Romania.
Well, tonight the Romanian government told us it will investigate the issues raised in Chris's report. It said we have reformed the child protection system and made it possible for local authorities to prevent abandonment and protect all children in need by appropriate placement in substitute families. What the investigation makes clear is that some county authorities are not implementing the child rights legislation. And tomorrow, Chris investigates just how easy it is to buy a child for his second report, Romania, Babies for Sale. Now, 2 decades ago, James Lloyd dragged terrified women off the streets and raped them, taking their stilettos and stockings as perverted trophies. He must have thought he'd got away with it until his sister's DNA from a drink driving investigation was run through a computer in a cold cases review. Today, Lloyd was jailed for 15 years. Damon Green reports from Sheffield.
No one who knew James Lloyd could believe he was a serial sex attacker. The secret he carried for more than 20 years. This was his face then, a rapist who attacked young women at night to satisfy a fetish for high-heeled shoes, a rapist who couldn't be caught. Of course, the rapist had left a sample of his DNA at the scene of the crime, but without a positive match, detectives were looking for a face in a crowd. Then, new technology enabled them to search for DNA with a family resemblance, and that search led them straight to Lloyd's sister. In the early 80s, a string of attacks, lone women tied with stockings and their shoes stolen as trophies. In 2000, Lloyd's sister gives a DNA sample after an arrest for drink driving. In 2000, when the rape evidence is reviewed, James Lloyd's sister is one of 40 near matches on the police database. From that moment, just a matter of time before Lloyd is arrested. The forensic scientists who developed so-called familial testing believe it could solve many more cold cases.
When you get a DNA profile that does not match against the national database, because of the way in which DNA is inherited, their close relatives are likely to have components that are more common between them than two individuals that are totally unrelated.
Once detectives had his name, they searched the printers where James Lloyd worked as a manager. There they discovered hundreds of women's stockings and high-heeled shoes, some belonging to rape victims. Police believe there are more who haven't come forward. Lloyd cried in the dock as he was sentenced to life. The women whose lives he ruined were there to see it. Damon Green, ITV News in Sheffield.
Quick look at the markets. The FTSE 100 closed at its highest level for 3 months on 5,986. That's up 37 points. No Dow Jones because of the Labour Day holiday over in the United States. And tonight the pound is worth €1.48, down almost a third of a cent. Coming up in a few minutes.
He's grumpy and he's...
Tributes to Steve Irwin, the real-life Crocodile Dundee, killed in a freak accident. That and the newspapers after the news, where you are.
Good evening. Now the Anglia News. Police are looking for a gang who attacked a lamb at Daventry Country Park and set it on fire. It was doused with petrol while it was grazing, and it was only thanks to the swift action of a passer-by that it survived. Carl Heidel reports.
This 5-month-old lamb is lucky to be alive. His badly scorched fleece burnt almost to the skin. The lamb was grazing here in Daventry Country Park with a flock of other sheep when it's believed that a small group of people chased after it and trapped it. They then threw either lighter fuel or petrol over it and set it alight. The poor animal ran for its life, and it was only when a member of the public threw a coat over it that the flames were put out. The lamb was taken to a vet where he was treated for burns and for breathing in smoke. He's now back with his owner, Barry Lewis, who has a small holding near Wilton.
If that fluid had been over its eyes, over its head, over its legs, then there would have been severe burns to the animal. And it may have died as a result of it.
The RSPCA has recently reported a 6% increase in animal cruelty across the country. The police say they want anybody who may have been near the sheep meadow in Daventry Country Park on Saturday morning to contact them.
It really is difficult to understand how anyone could be so callous as to do this. And we hope that anybody who was in the vicinity at the time might be able to get in touch with us.
The sheep is now recovering well. Fortunately, wool is a fire retardant, so it actually helped the lamb from getting severe burns. It's now been released back with the rest of the flock on Barry's small holding. Normally, he doesn't name his sheep, but he and his wife are now thinking about calling this special lamb St John, for obvious reasons. Carl Heidel, Anglia News, Wilton.
Detectives hunting the killer of a great-grandmother in Leighton Buzzard say they're a step closer in their investigation. Dolly Cheval, who was 84, was attacked on her doorstep a month ago. She died later in hospital. Hundreds of leaflets were handed out asking anyone with information to come forward. Police were keen to contact a witness who had a Mohican haircut, and she has now been traced. A man has died in a house fire in Peterborough. The fire started at lunchtime in the kitchen of the property in Ploverley in Warrington. The cause isn't yet known. Drivers are facing months of delays as major roadworks get underway on the M11 near Stansted Airport. The works are costing £2.1 million and will take until December to finish. Most of the work's being done outside rush hour times, but if you're travelling to the airport, you should leave more time for your journey. Northampton College is offering the first course in the country for people who want to make a living from the internet auction site eBay. It's estimated around 700,000 people make money from eBay. So the college is hoping it'll attract lots of would-be entrepreneurs. The class started on the 20th of September. Now, our region is already home to one Grand Prix at Silverstone, but there's another in Cambridgeshire. Not the high-powered world of Formula One, but the quiet and graceful sport of gliding, as Matthew Hudson reports.
Ungainly, even bizarre looking on the ground, the gliders show no sign of the grace they achieve in the air as they're towed to the takeoff site. Then a chance for last-minute preparations. This is a serious sport. With no engine, it's only skill and air currents that keep the craft in the sky. No wonder the pilots are passionate.
Gliding's for me has always been about being able to fly in places that most people can't imagine being, in the mountains. Obviously flying in the UK we don't have mountains, but I have the opportunity of flying in the Alps and the Pyrenees. It's very exciting, flying with the birds. It's up with nature, not many people get that opportunity, and I do.
One by one they're launched into the huge Cambridgeshire sky, then circle like horses before the Grand National, waiting for the starter to say go. Weather conditions are improving, but still demanding.
It can change. There's fronts around, you look to the west now and things are looking a lot better. So if that air moves towards us, then things could get really interesting and very fast.
Gliding is taking off as a sport. 14 film crews were down under to cover this year's World Finals. 21st century technology means spectators can now feel like they're taking part, racing silently at up to 300 kilometres per hour. 90 minutes after the start, and it's Russell Cheetham who flies home first, only around 10 seconds in front. Matthew Hudson, Anglia News, at Little Gransden Airfield in Cambridgeshire.
Let's see if it's gliding weather for the rest of the week. Here's Wendy Hurrell's forecast.
For all life's ups and downs, insurance from Norwich and Peterborough. Sponsors of Anglia Weather.
Good evening. It looks like we will have a warm and sunny and dry day tomorrow. There's quite a lot of cloud around the region to shift first though, and it might just bring us the odd patchy bit of light rain up towards the wash. Generally speaking though, a dry but cloudy night with lows of 15 or 16 degrees, so pretty mild. And that cloud hanging around for the first part of tomorrow, a bit of a dull start to the day, but the sunshine will come through in the afternoon, and highs tomorrow of 24 or 25 degrees. Very warm for the time of year, in the top 70s Fahrenheit. And it looks like staying settled and fine for us towards the middle part of the week as well, with temperatures into the low 20s. We will have some sunny spells getting through, perhaps more cloud around for Wednesday and moderate southwesterly winds. That's it from me today. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Insurance from the experts at Norwich and Peterborough.
Should be nice for the gliding Grand Prix. That's it from us tonight. Back with more news tomorrow. Thanks for your company. Good night.
Hello again, an update on our headlines tonight. A British tourist has been shot dead in Jordan after a gunman opened fire on sightseers at a Roman amphitheatre. 3 British soldiers also died today, 2 in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. And an exclusive investigation by ITV News has exposed appalling conditions suffered by Romanian orphans. Steve Irwin, crocodile hunter and conservationist, was one of a rare breed himself, an expert with an enthusiasm that translated into great television. His popularity around the world was reflected today in the tributes after he died while swimming with stingrays. A barb from one pierced his heart. Romilly Weeks now on an Aussie original.
Daredevil, animal lover and irrepressible personality.
This bloke is one angry, naughty, aggressive crocodile, and this is gonna be one very dangerous capture. He's grumpy and he's...
Taking enormous risks with wild animals was what made Steve Irwin famous. While filming his latest series underwater, Irwin was killed not by one of the great predators of the sea, but a stingray.
Today the world has lost a great wildlife icon, a passionate conservationist, and one of the proudest dads on the planet. He died what he loved doing best. And he left this world in a happy and peaceful state of mind. He would have said, crocs rule.
Some of Irwin's stunts were controversial, not least this one when he introduced his 1-month-old baby to a crocodile. But he was hugely popular in Australia and beyond.
Well, I am quite shocked and distressed at Steve Irwin's sudden, untimely and freakish death. It's a huge loss to Australia.
As you can see from this one hiding in the corner of the aquarium, stingrays are actually pretty timid creatures. The great irony of Steve Irwin's death is that they rarely attack, and when they do, it's rarely fatal. The only reason he died from his wound is that the barb, which looks like this and is razor sharp, went straight through his heart. After all the occasions Irwin really did flirt with danger, fooling around with crocodiles or dicing with snakes, he died doing something which should have been relatively safe. Romilly Weeks, ITV News.
And now for a look at tomorrow's front pages. The Independent dedicates it to the British deaths today and calls it a black